Hey there, I came across something interesting as I'm going through Jeremiah today. It was a passage that reminded me of the New Testament, and it's a story actually that we have all heard many times and we are familiar with. It's actually in Matthew chapter 7. What I want to focus on is 24 to 27. But just to give a little bit of context here, verse 21, Matthew 7, says that not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name cast out demons? And in your name do many works of power? And I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, the ones working lawlessness. Therefore, everyone who hears these words from me and does them, I will compare him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down and the rivers came up, and the winds blew and fell against the house, but it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and who does not do them, he shall be compared to a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the rivers came up, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And so we have heard this passage before. What I want to point out is that the God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament. I mean, going through Jeremiah, I have been starting to underline, circle the words where it says, I will, I will, I will. And there's so many of them, what God will do. And it's funny that here he says, I will compare him to a man. Like it says, I will declare to them, verse 23 and verse 24. It was reminding me of, as I was reading this, reminding me of in the book of Jeremiah. But then even more so, what he says here is actually something that is echoed right from Jeremiah. And that's why I thought it was so interesting. It reminded me, I've never noticed it, but even there's so much to say here. Even the verse 21 to 23, those are very scary verses. I mean, these people, they prophesied in his name. They cast out demons in his name and did many works of power in his name. His name is powerful, but just because we do the things in his name does not mean we are saved. And so these people did all these things and these mighty things, and he says, I never knew you. And so anyways, I could spend more time on that, but that's for another video. Here I want to point out that God, especially Jesus here, he says, and everyone who hears these words of mine and who does not do them, he shall be compared to a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Now, as we go through Jeremiah, it is all about, God is all about the people having forsaken him, not hearing his words, not obeying his words, not doing what he's wanting them to do. And this is over and over, chapter after chapter. God is rebuking them for them not obeying his word. So here in Jeremiah 22, verse 13, this is what it says. Woe to him who builds his house without righteousness, and his upper rooms without justice. His neighbor serves for nothing, and he does not give him for his work. Who says, I will build myself a wide house, a large upper rooms. And he cuts out windows for it, and covers it with cedar, and paints with vermilion. Do you reign because you lust to excel in cedar? Did not your father eat and drink and do justice and righteousness? Then it was well for him. He judged the case of the poor and the needy Then it was well. Was this not to know me? A statement of Jehovah. But your eyes and your heart lust for nothing, but your unjust gain, and to shed innocent blood, and injury, and to do oppression. And then verses 19 says, he shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn beyond the gates of Jerusalem, and thrown out. So again, here we see, it reminds me of that passage in the New Testament, somebody who builds their house not on righteousness and justice, as it says here in verses 13, is like the one not building their house on the foundation, the rock. It's not building their house on God and on his word. And when it says here, without righteousness and without justice in verse 13, if you jump over to Jeremiah 23:6, it says, in his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name by which he shall be called, Jehovah, our righteousness. It's his righteousness. This house needs to be built on his righteousness. Just wanted to add that. It's so important. Thing too is that this person who builds their house on the sand is compared to somebody who does not obey the words of the Lord. And here too, it's somebody who does not who builds without righteousness and without justice. So yeah, like it's almost like a little more information in the New Testament, but kind of taking this here passage and expounding on it. And I thought it was super interesting. Yes, we need to build our house by, on hearing the word of the Lord, first of all, and then actually doing and being obedient to his word. Because the book of Jeremiah is a book where God is constantly telling them, you are not obeying my words. You do not hear my voice. You have forsaken me. And that's kind of the big idea, I would say, in the book of Jeremiah, like that the people are not listening and obeying to the word of God. And Jesus in the New Testament, he says, that we are to build on the rock. And who's the rock? On Jesus. And what is he? He is righteousness and justice. We're building on the foundation of him, not ourselves. And the one who builds it on the sand is building it on himself. It says, but your eyes and your heart lust for nothing but your unjust gain. And you shed innocent blood. This is all about us. This is all about the flesh. When we build on the sand, we're building it on ourselves. We're not actually building it on God. And it will come, like a scary verse here, and it shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn beyond the gates of Jerusalem and thrown out. Just like the house built on sand is completely destroyed and washed away, and there is no more sign of it. Somebody who builds their life not on Jesus Christ, not on God, and not on those things that are good and right, and it will perish, it will pass away, and it will not even be remembered anymore. So anyways, I thought that was super neat to have this passage of a house, and then have that same thing in the New Testament. It just shows that we serve a God, he does not change, and he's still the same, just like he was here in Jeremiah. He is still the same in the New Testament where we see him, and he is still pleading with people to obey and hear his voice. It's not about doing things for God. We can get caught up doing and being so busy doing things that we actually forget to stop and say, hey, do I really know this God? Do I have a relationship with him. And yeah, like we can do and get and you know, get other people doing so much, but we can actually miss the whole point of everything, because he's not going to measure us by what we do, but do we know him? And that's the key. Do we know him? Do you know him? And so anyways, be blessed, and you know, continue to do your own study in the Word of God, and also subscribe, hard word for me to say, to my channel if you can, or if you want to get more videos and stuff. So anyways, be blessed, and may God bless you. Bye.